It's Riley.
It's Sloan.
It's Briar. Hang on to your broomsticks. It's about to get eerie.
Today's episode could contain themes and elements uncomfortable to some listeners. Please check the episode description and remember to always take care of yourself.
So the thing that really got me into all the eerie, spooky, interesting things is the paranormal and the supernatural side of life. From a young age, I had an interest in ghosts and spirits, and I remember watching ghost shows with Riley and Mom and loving them so much. And the one I specifically remember watching a lot was Ghost Hunters, and like all the evidence they would find would leave me like longing for answers and wanting to know more. Another show we would watch would be Dead Files, and that's really what made me realize that, like, you can be open to that side and, like, open yourself up and really start experiencing things. But even before realizing or even knowing about anything paranormal, all of us had a similar experience that our mom was actually the one who told us about a so-called imaginary friend named Rosie, who, when we were all little, we all talked about this woman, I guess, named Rosie. And, like, our mom was like, it was never, like, around the same time when we were, like, all alive.
'Cause we're all spaced out.
Yeah.
So, in age.
Yeah, so it was all different times, but we all had the same, like, imaginary friend with the same name that none of us had told the other one about.
Yeah, well, I remember Mom saying all of us at one point, and even our cousins having an imaginary friend named Rosie or Rose or some depiction.
Right, mentioning some variation of that.
Yeah. But after learning more about the paranormal, I began to have more experiences. So we've moved around a little bit. And we've lived in a good handful of houses, and some, I would say, with 100% without a doubt, were haunted and had had spirits in them. And others weren't. They had less activity, if any, that I've experienced something at least every house we've lived in. But we'll start with one of the houses in a city in Ashland, a city called Ashland in Kentucky, and we called this house the farmhouse. And everyone in our family had experiences in this house. But the most memorable experience I had was, I'm a kind of aggressive sleeper. I kicked a lot. I, like, moved a lot.
Yes. Spun around.
But I never once fell out of my bed. Never once had had something like that happen. And we had this big old dog. Her name was Dot. And she was, like a polar bear, like she was big. Mm-hmm. And she would sleep with me in my twin-size bed every night. Well, this one night she didn't, and I was laying there, and I felt a pressure on the bed, and I was like, okay. I was young, like 7, 8, whenever we lived there, and so I was like, interesting. I'm just gonna go to bed. I'm just gonna go to sleep. And then I woke up, because I fell off my bed and busted my nose. And when, I got back up on the bed and was like, okay, well, the pressure was gone. And that was that. It was just weird. And every night after that, Dot still slept with me.
Yeah, she never missed another night. She always slept with me.
I was about to say, didn't she, get even more protective?
Yeah.
It was like every night she wouldn't.
Which I know you guys had experiences in that house too.
Yeah, I think all of us. That was a big house that all of us had experiences in.
And what's interesting is thinking about the ghost hunters. Our really watching ghost hunters started there.
Yeah.
Because Dad had that guy that worked for him who actually, we kept borrowing the box sets of ghost hunters. And because he was really into it and had creepy stuff happen at his house. And then, I can't remember what happened. And then he just, I think he quit. Or I don't know. But that's when we would watch Ghost Hunters in that house.
But that house, it was pretty old, I'm pretty sure, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, pre-Civil War is what they said.
One thing I remember, though, was, our kitchen, just, like, out of nowhere, there were termites that, like, made the floor like it was moving.
Yeah, because you would walk in the dining room, and it was like the floor sagged, like, on that one wall. And you would come in, and it was just, like, every night, you would never see them. And then, all of a sudden, the floor would be, like, moving. And it was, like, all these termites, and then they would just, like, disappear again.
Yeah. Which I think is interesting, because, like, a lot of the paranormal stuff, like, it'll be, like, bugs.
That's
like
also where we kept the bats.
Yeah.
Started. We've had a weird ride.
I think
with
all
bats.
our houses had bats.
And birds. Yeah. We've had a lot of bird experiences, too.
Just since we moved to Kentucky. Like, I never experienced a lot of that. But there's, like, bats in that house. And it had, and you remember, it was so... They had added on to it. So there's, like, the base of the farmhouse, and it had, like, the big long porch, all the doors to the outside. Like, every room had a door to the outside.
Yeah.
Because it was built that way. You open all the doors and you get those breezes in. And then they added on, because it used to be the office building.
Yeah, which
so
there was a urinal in the bathroom.
Yes, so there was the added on side to it. And it would get so hot. It would be snowing outside, and we would be sleeping
have
upstairs
the windows open
in shorts. And when the windows open, I'd leave the door open to that big giant porch because it was so nasty hot. But that is probably the creepiest house.
Yeah. Which, didn't you have an experience while you were studying one time?
Yeah, I was sitting in my room. I had a rolling chair on the side of my bed, and I would spread all my school stuff out so I could see everything on my bed. And in the room, it was like there was a little walkway, and then you're in a big room, and then there was a little hallway, and into a second room, which also had the servant stairs that were super creepy, and I hated going down to the kitchen. But there was a door on the side of the room, and it was just like into the side of the house, like storagey type area. I had like my TV in front of it, like catty cornered. And because I never used it, and it was just kind of there, and so I was like sitting there studying. I'm just like studying, and there's like a bang on the door. It's like a boom, like at the door, like a door getting pushed, and like my stomach dropped, and then I just neatly stack up all my stuff, and I get in bed, and I'm like, nope, we're going to bed.
It's bedtime.
I was like,
that's it. That's enough for the night.
We've had enough daytime today. It's time to go to bed. We're just going to ignore that and go to bed. Which I don't know why. I guess that was my fight or flight was more of a, we're just going to go to sleep, pretend it didn't happen.
Forget.
We're just gonna, that didn't happen. Time for bed.
That's pretty much what happened with me too in that house. It was, I had just moved upstairs in the second bedroom with you upstairs. And I had been asleep, and I was sleeping, which is funny, I was sleeping the wrong way, because the head of my bed was against the wall, which is where I would usually sleep, but I decided I was flipping over, because I was just, like, next to my TV, and for some reason, I woke up, and I slowly opened my eyes a little bit, and I see this face, human face, I think it was a woman's face, like 4 inches away from mine. And it freaked me out so bad, I jolted up and nearly fell out of the bed because I'm like, who is staring at me in my room? Like, nearly almost thinking it was one of you guys just about to wake me up or something. And then when my eyes opened up and I got the sleep out of them, there was nobody there. And I kind of just was like, okay, heart pounding, like, I'm going back to bed. Like, I didn't see that. That didn't happen.
That's all of us are just like, forget it.
Nothing. But also, that room was a little creepy, too, because the closet door would never latch. And what was weird about it was you would go to close it and be closed until you got back to the bed or the desk area, and then all of a sudden it'd go, and then crack open. It wouldn't open all the way, but it would unlatch itself.
Yeah.
Which I always thought was weird and creepy. And I would stare at it and be like, don't you effing open. Don't you open.
That was, well, in the house, the same house, I had another experience with seeing something in that upstairs. So it had the pretty staircase, the wooden stairs, and the little foyer, and even the little sitting area in front of the window. So you got up the stairs, there was a door going out, and then there was the first bedroom door, which you walked in, and it was like a little hallway. It was kind of weird. And then there was a door, and then you got into the bedroom. And then there was, from the foyer, there was the bedroom to the room you were in. There's only the two beds. Well,
I forgot about that hallway.
Yeah, it was like weird. It's like that little entranceway. And so there was 3 bedrooms upstairs, but the one was off the room I was in. I had those 2 bedrooms. And so I was sleeping, and like I said, you'd sleep with windows open, and we would always leave the foyer light on because I think the only light was at the bottom. And there was like a little half bathroom up there, but I didn't use it. We ended up storing stuff in it because it was weird, and it was in the creepy room that I didn't like to be in. And so we would leave the foyer light on in case you had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night so you could get down the stairs.
I think it was also where my room was, so it left me some light too.
Yeah, because you were
at the bottom.
At the base of the stairs, there was a door, and there was a little closet beside, a little closet area. And then you were in that room right off to the side. And so that light was on. And I remember I was sleeping, and it was that sense of like someone's kind of staring at you, where you're just kind of like waking up a little bit. You just feel like something's off, or almost like someone's waiting on you. That sounds creepier than it really was, but that's kind of how it is. You're like, what's happening? And so you slowly wake up, and so I open my eyes, and I'm looking through the door to the bedroom in that little hallway. It was maybe like 6 feet. It was weird. It was the weirdest little hallway, and I see like a silhouette of a man. It was just dark. I assume it was a man. I don't know why, but it was just a person silhouette in the door. And so I'm just like laying there, and I'm staring, and I'm like, that's a person. And I just see it
in my door,
in the doorway, the second doorway, just like chilling there. And then I just like, oh, back to sleep.
My brain would have done something where I'm like, I keep blinking, and just like, it'd be my luck to get closer.
I remember the moment where I was like, I thought I was just seeing stuff, and I was like, blinking my eyes. But then I was like, okay, no more blinking. And I like held my eyes open trying to focus. I'm like, maybe I'm just seeing something. And I was like giant eyeballing it and not blinking. And I'm like, it's not clearing out of my focus. Yeah, it's not going away. It's not a smudge. It's not a smudge in the world. And then I went back to sleep. So I did feel like, it didn't feel scary. It was like creepy,
just unsettling.
Yeah, unsettling. But it wasn't like
you felt.
Yeah. But it was definitely. It did wake me up. But it was feeling like somebody being there, and you're like, oh, I'm waking up, and it was the figure in the door. Same house.
Mm-hmm. Which I also remember you having an experience one night where you woke up and you had asked Mom. You were like, "What was Briar doing all night?" And because you had heard running, and you were like, she was like running around, and Mom was like, no, she wasn't.
Yeah, it was that next morning. I was like, what was she doing? Because all night it was like footsteps. Like, all night. Which is wild because I don't know why I would have even really heard it. Because I was upstairs and you were downstairs.
Yeah.
But it was just like, I heard the running, and it was just like a little kid running. And I was like, what was she doing all night? And Mom was like, sleeping.
Yeah, I was
She
asleep.
didn't do nothing.
Yeah. But that house, it was beautiful in like some of its stuff. But it was everyone, like our parents had the experiences, or our mom at least, for sure. Mm-hmm. But fast forward a little bit, we lived in a couple other houses in Ashland before and after that house, or was that last house?
We lived at one before, and then one after. We went to the Ivy Creek house.
So fast forward, we moved to a different city called Corbin, Kentucky, and we lived in this one house. I think I might be the only one who had experience. Well, I think Sloan had one experience there.
Yeah, I had one small experience.
The one experience that I had that still kind of like looking back on it gives me chills is I was in my room And my room was across from my parents' room, so I could see into their room from my doorway. And I always slept with the TV on. It's still, like, a bad habit I have is I have to sleep with, like, noise or light, something on, I guess, to, like being, like, a naive little kid, like, scared of the dark. Yeah. It didn't work. Not that night. No. So, I had my TV on, and I woke up because I don't know why I woke up, but the TV was off. And I was like, okay. I couldn't find my remote to turn it back on, and I wasn't getting out of my bed to turn it on. No, because that's creepy that it turned off, you know, and being younger, I was like, absolutely not. So then I'm laying there, and I got that same kind of feeling like, oh, someone is, like, watching me or something. And I look at the doorway, and at the time my bed was, like, the opposite corner of where the door was. And I look, and I see this old woman. And I was like, you know, and you just kind of are like, oh, God, what? And as I mentioned earlier, how my brain would have, like, kept blinking and it just gets closer. That's exactly what happened, of course, in true fashion of creepiness. And every time I would, like, blink to be like, okay, I'm just like
go away.
Yeah, like, go. And she just progressively kept getting closer.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Until she was at the end of my bed, and I was like, you can't get much closer. And then she was gone. And I was like, well, that happened. And I still don't. She was just she looked pleasant. Like, she looked like a sweet old woman. She had a little granny chain with her glasses on it. And I remember, like, brown loafers. But, yeah, just, like, usually what you see older women wearing. Like, I don't know.
All I'm thinking of is, like, if you start crawling up this bed, we gonna have
to
like, be kicking and screaming.
I will knock you out.
It was one of those moments, though, like, I could not make noise. I was just like, and I'm like, my parents are just right there. I can see into their room. Like, but Sloan, you had an experience in that house, too.
Mine was a little weird, and it also could have just been half asleep, half dreaming type thing, because mine is just a weird thing. So, my room was at the end of the hallway. Mine was right next to yours. I couldn't see into Mom and Dad's bedroom, but it was down the hall.
On the same side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had my bed right in the back corner where I could see my doorway. It was straight across, but kind of diagonal. And I remember I woke up, and I think there was a light coming from the hallway. And I was blurry-eyed, just looked up at the door, and I see something. It almost looked like a giant black bird was flapping its wings and flying in the doorway, just looking. But just in place. Like, it wasn't moving towards me. It wasn't moving down the hall. It was just right in the doorway. But didn't think anything of it, because in my mind was just, you're half asleep, just go back to bed.
Just like, forget it. Never happened.
Yeah, so that's one where, was it something actual paranormal? Maybe, or maybe it was just me still being half asleep and seeing something in my sleep. That is
weird, though. I mean...
But it's weird seeing, like, saw everything in my room. Like, I was awake, but still half asleep, and then just was like, I'm tired, I need to go. Yeah. I'm just going back to bed. So it's weird. It's definitely a weird one. But that's the only thing I had in the house. I didn't have any other...
And that house never really had, like, a negative energy or anything. Yeah, unlike the farmhouse, I feel like that house, even looking back at it, like, it makes me unsettled to think about that house.
It was, like, always not always, like, terrifying. But there were times I would feel, like, extremely unsettled. And you're like, I didn't like that back bedroom in the farmhouse.
In the farmhouse, yeah. Back to the farmhouse.
Yeah, back to the farmhouse. So, like, there, it was not just like, ew, it's spooky. Like, I did not like I didn't use that room. I had the 2 rooms, and I didn't go in there.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like it, except for when they did it for Halloween to make it spooky.
Yeah, and we stayed in there.
But, like, I didn't hang out in there. I never used those steps, even though they were like more convenient towards the kitchen and the bathroom. I was like, no, I don't. No. It was just.
I think the only time
vibes.
we did use those stairs was during Halloween.
That was the only.
I remember I cried going up them.
Yeah, because they made them all creepy and it was cool, but it was. I didn't use it all the time. But the Palmer house, I never really had anything. Because then it was like a newer house.
Yeah, the only experience I really even remember, besides like probably like creaks and little things like that, was that experience of seeing that woman. And that was it. But then after that house, we moved again, and that's to this house we currently live in. Or me and Sloan currently live in. And I know our mom has had one experience when we like first moved in, and she was like upstairs and left her room to go to the bathroom, and she said she like felt a man behind her and heard him say, I like your cats, lady. But I actually think she might have had more experiences here.
I feel like I recall some other stuff.
But I don't know if you or Sloan or Dad have had any experiences here.
I know I haven't. Or nothing.
The only weird thing was you kept getting those random scratches sometimes.
Oh, I totally forgot. I did get scratches here.
Yeah. But then you can never really tell, like, if that was just environmental or, like, what happened. But that was weird because it was, like...
Mm-hmm. Because it happened multiple times. I had one time where I had 2 scratches on my neck. And it was weird. I even made a post about it on my Instagram because I was, like, talking about spooky stuff and then found these 10 minutes later. And then I think something was on, like, my ribs or my arm or something. I didn't even notice it. And either one of you guys or Mom noticed it. I was like, what happened there? And I was like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I just knew that a few times you've had, like, scratches or, like, marks. And we're like, you good?
Mm-hmm.
And I know, this one Halloween, Wrecker was, like, barking. Our dog was barking at the corner, and we all were like, well, that's a little strange.
It was you and me, and he was being weird because we had all the lights out, and I think we were watching something spooky.
Yeah, because we had, like, carved our pumpkins the night before, so we were, like, in here with the pumpkins lit, and we were like...
Yeah, and he's just sitting on the chair, staring at the cat room, just barking, and we're like, Wrecker, stop it. And he's not moving. And didn't break eye contact with that room the entire time for a good 30 minutes. And Briar and I are just sitting on the couch with each other.
Go look.
Like, I ain't moving.
But I have had quite a few experiences here. And probably when we moved here, I forget what grade I was in. I was 5th or 6th when we moved into this house, if not younger.
I was... already at Eastern,
I think.
Because I had done some Eastern and moved back from the dorm at the Palmer house.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure you guys moved and I was at Eastern.
Yeah.
So.
But most of all my experiences began when I was in 8th grade, and I was, like, having daily experiences and, like, would hear knocks and scratches on the walls and just, I would feel stuff and I would just kind of sometimes I'd get uneasy. And it was just little stuff like that. And then when I moved downstairs, every time I would go up the stairs for a while, it would sound like someone was walking a couple steps behind you, like following you up the stairs, which was weird because Riley had lived down there and never experienced that. And it wasn't like constantly, and it would only happen sometimes. And down there, where my bed is, it's up against a wall that is like on the other side is storage.
Yeah,
and
a false wall.
Yeah. I would hear knocking and scratching, some more scratching. There's also we call it the ghost phone because it'll sound like a phone vibrating in like the walls, and we can never seem to find out where it's coming from, and I'll hear that down there. Or not much anymore, but back then I would hear it.
That's bad in the living room.
Yeah.
Too. Because I always thought it was me. And then more people will be like, is somebody's phone going off? Is your phone going off? I'm like, nope, it's the phone in the walls.
Yeah. Which is funny because my room's pretty much right below the living room, and I can hear if the TV's too loud, I can know exactly the show that whoever's in the living room is watching. Like, you can hear pretty much everything. But as these daily experiences were happening and I was just kind of getting used to it, I began having sleep paralysis every night. And I had a reoccurring sleep paralysis demon. And it was just, like, I was getting used to it. He'd come out of my ceiling. He'd come crawl on my bed. And I'd be like, cool, bro. This is nice. And that went on for, like, a good 2 years till, like, my junior year of high school. And then it kind of just stopped. And wouldn't really... I'd still sometimes hear the footsteps coming up the stairs. Not anything. Never got any more feelings. Didn't have sleep paralysis anymore. Like, it just all stopped. Well, then, one weekend, about, like, a month or so ago, I was coming home to visit from college, and I was talking to Sloan in our little hallway, and I, like, had just turned, and I saw, like, a man's figure behind Sloan, and I did, like, a double take. And I was like, Brett or Garrett behind you? And Sloan was like, no. And I was like, I just saw a man standing behind you. And
yeah, I remember that. And it was weird because she really did. She saw me, went to go do her thing, and then jerked her head. And I was like, did I scare you? That was a little bit of a late reaction. And then she was like, was Garrett or Brett behind you? Or was somebody behind you? And I said, no.
Yeah, what's really weird, though, is around that same time, it might have even been that same weekend, I was sitting in the dining room, and I thought somebody walked by the living room doorway. Because the dining room doorway is across the foyer to the living room. And I remember it was kind of like counting heads, everybody's in here.
Yeah. But then that night, I was staying here the night, and I had sleep paralysis again for the first time it's been a good chunk of time. I've had a little bit here and there, but I'm not used to it anymore where it was happening daily for 2 years. So I was like, that was interesting. But it was my sleep paralysis. I have like, sometimes I can't even open my eyes. And so I just hear things. And then sometimes it's like my eyes are open and I'll like see things. But this one, it was just, like, couldn't open my eyes, and I just was, like, hearing things. So I was like, that was strange. And I was like, that's so crazy that I've not felt any, like, energy or spirits in this house, and then I see this man's figure, and I have sleep paralysis. So I believe that my sleep paralysis kind of really goes along with the energy and the spirits and the paranormal that are going on around me. But I was doing some research, and I'm not really the only one who believes this, because many countries have cultural beliefs that pin sleep paralysis on black magic, mythical creatures, and paranormal activity. Even with doctors telling them, like, no, that's not logical, like, it's just because sleep deprivation or stress or anything, these cultural beliefs still go on to this day. Like, they're still believed in some countries.
Which, why couldn't... It could still be stress, but that doesn't mean that stress is opening up the negative energies around you.
Exactly.
So just because you say, it's stress, that don't mean squat, Yeah. I mean, it doesn't just mean it's all in your mind.
Yeah.
That's, things feed off that.
Well, just look at poltergeist.
Exactly what I was thinking.
I surprise people, because I surprised myself when I found out a poltergeist is actually not a spirit. It's a manifestation of negative energy that you create.
Which I got scared there for a while in that, 2-year period. I was like, I'm creating this energy. Like, I thought it was me because I was having a hard time then because of stuff going on. And I was like, this is me. Like, I'm doing this, and yeah, so, but I don't think it was, so that, because it's quit.
Maybe that negativity just opens you up more to it.
Yeah.
To the negative, to get them in there.
But one case study on sleep paralysis that really intrigued me was actually from 1664 from a Dutch physician named, I'm probably going to butcher this, Isbrand van Dimmerbroek? I'm not exactly sure how it's pronounced. But it was done on a 50-year-old woman. But the most interesting part to me was how the events were described. Because one time she described it when she woke up as believing that the devil laid upon her and held her down. So she, was like, the devil was on me, holding me down.
Huh.
So I thought that was really interesting.
Interesting fact, and I just thought about it. Nightmare on Elm Street was based on cases of sleep paralysis that actually killed people. It's it was extreme cases where they couldn't get themselves to wake up. They weren't used to it, and then it ended up giving the people heart attacks because they were scared to death.
That's every time I have sleep paralysis and I wake up from it, it stresses me out now. Because I get so scared that something like that's going to happen, and it's horrifying. And if you've ever gone through it, I'm sorry. But another study I found interesting was one done in 2005 by Transcultural Psychiatry. But the part I'm really focusing on is actually from a different report, but this direct quote comes from the people who wrote the one in 2005. But in 1994, Wing and colleagues studied ghost depression, which is what sleep paralysis is known as in China, but among Chinese in Hong Kong, and reported that even among college students, 16% of them associated this phenomenon with supernatural beliefs. So 16% of all these people that they were talking to believed it was because of supernatural and paranormal things. In Japan, sleep paralysis is known as kanashibari, which is a word rooted in Buddhism, because long ago it was believed that Buddhist monks would use magic to paralyze people.
Interesting.
I thought that was cool.
Did it say why they would do that?
No, I didn't see why they. Yeah, it was just
just do it.
Yeah. And then in Newfoundland, sleep paralysis is referred to as an attack of old hag, which I think is interesting because it kind of ties into the old folklore called a night hag, or I think a boo hag. Mm-hmm. And this folklore is really relevant in many parts of the world, in East Asia, Southeast Asia, pretty much all throughout Asia, Africa, Europe, and the Americas. And in America, specifically, it goes back to the Salem witch trials, where people were having reports to have seen a hag and, one of the witches, and saying it was a hag, and that they were being attacked at night. Even after the witch trials, people were still reporting to see this hag. And in some cultures, she is believed, this boo hag, night hag, old hag, whatever you want to call it, it is believed to be summoned by black magic of a jealous person.
Ooh, interesting.
So people who are jealous of someone would summon them up.
Are you cursed?
Probably.
You been hexed?
Probably.
We need to do a little anti-hex.
But the hag will enter the house at night and come and sit on the edge of a person's bed or on their chest and paralyze them until she releases them from her grip.
Interesting. That's kind of creepy.
Get your brooms, because I know for the boo hag, it's you put a broom by your bed or at your front door, and she is compelled to count the bristles in the broom.
Yeah. So it will keep her out there. Put 7 out there. I need 23
Yeah, I'll take them all, wrap them up.
Because I also know with the boo hag in general, I don't know about the other ones, is she would steal a person's breath. That one's a little more creepy too, which I won't go too much into, because she apparently, if you woke up while she was stealing your breath, she would steal your skin.
Ooh.
And wear it.
That's interesting.
But then the way you tell if you may have been fed on by a boo hag was you will be tired when you wake up, which I'm like,
well,
yeah,
I might be hexed. But I just found it all interesting because knowing I'm not like the only one that has the correlation of like sleep paralysis and with all the paranormal stuff and supernatural stuff. But bringing it back to the paranormal, I'm wondering if me being exposed to the paranormal and supernatural stuff at such a young age made me more susceptible to having these encounters and having these experiences.
Maybe it kept your young mind still open.
Yeah.
It didn't shut you off like most kids. You know, they say kids are, more likely to see things. But then you get older and you kind of shut that off because the world tells you, oh, no, those things aren't there.
Yeah.
So maybe during that time you didn't get that. You were like, no ghosts.
Yeah, especially in our family, we're all really open to that sort of stuff that we're like... That
I was just about to say, like, Mom and Dad never really shut us off that... So, like, they would help us, like, be like, there's not a monster in your closet and stuff, but they never shut us off with, like,
our
Don't
believe that.
Don't believe
Don't
that.
believe that. You can't believe that. You can't do this.
I mean, and I don't think they really, like, even cared in a sense of, like, as long as we weren't doing anything, like, using a Ouija board or something, like, trying to summon something, they were like, if that's what you're interested in, that's what you want to go look into, like, go be you, go do you.
But that also shows, like, how much they believe in it, too. Because I know I will never touch a Ouija board, and Mom's like, don't you dare touch a Ouija board.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's too many things.
Same with Dad, too. Dad's the same way. Like, I believe in that stuff, that's why I ain't touching it.
Yeah. You don't know what you're gonna...
I respect it.
Yeah.
Not to touch it.
But even us as a whole, we are all really interested in, like, the paranormal and stuff. Like, we've went ghost hunting.
Yes. Real ghost hunting in a real haunted place.
Yes.
That's the Thomas House in Red Boiling Springs, Tennessee.
That was a fun time. And we had a lot of things happen there.
Yeah, there was a lot of interesting things.
Probably the most interesting thing was we were in this, like, little back room. I forget what it was.
The antique
room. Like, the antique room. But they had, like, had a group of people pre-COVID. This was way before COVID.
It was right before.
Yeah. Oh, was it right before?
Yeah,
it was a couple months before.
Oh, my brain has, like, time warped everything. But they had, like, all of us packed in this room, and we were sitting down on the ground. And the way Riley Sloan and I were sitting, we had, like, people in between us, and we were all sitting on the ground, and when we got up, we all realized, like, oh, our shoes untied. But it was all of I was thinking
it was our left one.
Yeah, I think all of our left shoes were untied. Mm-hmm. But just ours, just the three of us. And we were like...
Well, and we had just happened that we had our little detector, our meter thing, that was to do it, like, connected with the energy.
The EMF?
Yeah.
The EMF.
And it was going crazy in that room where we were sitting. Even your coworker that was a non-believer but was just going to have fun even was like, there's something here.
Yeah, because it was right in that doorway, and it kept, like, going off, and then it would stop, and then it would go off. Yeah, it's because it was untying our shoes.
Yeah. And he was getting irritated at other people that weren't taking it serious, and he was like, there's something here!
Yeah.
He was like, come on, guys!
It was pretty cool.
And the sad thing, though, was that there was a church out beside it, and it's supposed to be one of their, like, most, like, hot spot areas, but literally, like, the night before we went, a storm had caved in.
Yeah, the roof caved in.
Yeah.
So they didn't have it. We got to go and in it. It was like, go at your own risk, but it was still daylight when we went.
Yeah.
So they didn't add that into the ghost hunt itself.
It was still really interesting in there, but we didn't really catch anything, and there wasn't... I didn't feel any energy in there, really, other than it just kind of being old and, like, scared that the roof's gonna fall in some more on you.
Yeah. I didn't get anything in there. Even though there were some people in there, when it was just kind of the free-for-all, they were getting stuff in there. They had their meter going off. But I didn't get anything in there.
I know that it wasn't inside the church, wasn't giving me any eerie things, which you would think this old abandoned church in pitch black night would be creepy. Mm-hmm. But when we went out and were walking around, and I think just talking, I was walking around and I felt eerie outside of it. And I was hearing twigs snap, and which could be animals or something. But still, you get an eerie feeling like, I feel like this is creepier than inside.
Yeah.
Well, and then you remember the wooden bridge, like over the little stream?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was kind of weird right there with the water.
Yeah, that's
and
like
we took some pictures. And that was in our pictures, and the one was all white, which is kind of interesting, like a couple different snapshots. But it wasn't necessarily horrifying, but it was kind of like, oh, this is kind of a weird spot. But that place has all kinds of crazy history. That they had a cult that was there for a while. It's right over the spring. Is it the spring? The Sulphur Spring?
Sulphur Springs, yeah.
So,
it was used wasn't it used as like a healing house or a spa for rich people because they thought the sulfur was healing and stuff?
No, one of the most creepy spots in there was the bathroom.
Yeah.
It had 2 toilets in there. So
and we were like, that's kind of weird. And they're like, a little girl died in there and people find her all the time. I'm like,
yeah, well,
I see why there's 2 side-by-side tandem toilets. So we
had went in there and had to use the bathroom beforehand and no problem. And then all of a sudden, like, oh yeah, a little girl burned to death in there. Yeah. Will you come to the bathroom with me, please? Nobody went to the bathroom by themselves anymore.
And we got the picture. The only thing we really got was Brett was taking pictures in the seance room. And we got that weird, it looks like a man's face.
Yeah.
In all the pictures. That was a pretty creepy one. And just in the one. I definitely had times where there was weird vibes.
Yeah. I had tons of weird vibes and, like, weird things happening. But nothing caught... Like, I recorded the whole thing. And, like, we didn't really catch anything.
Yeah, that's sound-wise. But there was the cat toys. Using the cat toys that would go off.
Yeah.
And they'd light up when nobody was around them. Mm-hmm. I know that picture we took as a group was a little weird because it was a mirror within a mirror and you could see our reflection in the picture like 5 times.
Which that room had some uneasy feelings, which I forget what it had turned into. Like what it was called.
That was where the cult would do their rituals.
There we go. Yeah.
And it was where we ate our food.
Yeah, everyone ate in there, and we were like, okay.
Yeah, it was like the hub.
And I'm trying to think of other weird stuff that happened. I know, me personally, because it was cold. It was it was in winter, so it was freezing in those buildings and stuff, too. But I know, like, especially in the antique room, I remember, I think I asked you to feel my neck if it was hot, because it felt like my neck was burning. And Briar touched it and was like, you're burning up.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Which, like, you would think it's freezing cold.
Yeah.
Why am I burning up right now?
Interesting. I want to say we went in February.
I think it was February. Or at least around there.
And I know, I just remember this in the seance room, too. When we went in as a group, I was sitting down on this little love seat / couch with a couple other people. I know there was a girl next to me, and I was sitting down, and while they were talking, trying to get interaction, I kept on feeling like something was catching the hood of my hoodie. Like, I nearly thought I was getting caught on the couch, so finally I just sit up, just because I was getting annoyed with it. And then I was trying to listen, and then all of a sudden, the girl who was sitting next to me on my left side, because I was on the end with my arm on the arm of the couch, she sits up too, and acts like something was tugging at the back of her jacket or her shirt. So maybe that was something grabbing, or I don't know. It was just, I remember it was weird.
I like it when stuff happens. Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
When stuff happens and someone else is like at the same time, and you're both kind of like the same weird.
You feel that too?
Yeah.
But because we didn't talk, but I just know she like sat up like I did.
Yeah.
But I know in that same room we were sitting at like this big long table. And it got really cold, like, all of a sudden, in, like, the one area where we're at. And I remember being like, Riley, are you cold? Like, do you feel that, how cold it is?
Yeah. It was January 25th, 2020, when we went.
It's been a while.
It has been.
But it was a really good trip and really fun. That was the first ever, like, real ghost hunting.
A ghost hunt, yeah. In a haunted a place that's kind of like notoriously haunted.
Yeah.
I think, was it Ghost Hunters that went? Yes, because we watched it.
Yeah.
When we started out when we were eating dinner, we watched the Ghost Hunters.
Or wait, was it Ghost Hunters or was it?
It was Ghost Hunters.
Yeah.
And that was one of the episodes where they got a lot of stuff. That was one where it was, one of the ghosts was turning off and on the flashlight for the one girl.
Yeah.
Which, that's probably one of my favorite things about Ghost Hunters is because some episodes, they don't really catch anything, and they're like, that's just how it is. I like how real it is that they're not, like, forcing these...
But then they're always open. They're like, just because it didn't happen, we're not saying...
It's not haunted or your experiences didn't happen.
Yeah, they're just not faking it, essentially. But it would definitely be cool to stay, because it's an active hotel. So you can stay in rooms. We didn't. We just drove down. But it would be cool to stay in one of the haunted rooms.
Wasn't it in one of the rooms they tell you to put your change out on the dresser because they'll be stacked?
Yeah, they'll stack
when you wake up.
Mm-hmm. It would definitely be cool to go and stay overnight.
There's definitely some other places I'd like to go visit and ghost hunt. I just think it's so interesting.
Mm-hmm. I definitely... I could be wrong. I feel like maybe had, COVID not hit that year, I can see us trying to have went and done more stuff.
Well, we had planned it. We had a bunch of stuff planned that we were going to go to a bunch of haunted places, and then COVID hit, and then it was like, well, that kind of went down the drain.
We'll have to get back on it.
Yeah.
Document it.
But I think what really interests me about, like, the paranormal and all the supernatural and just the spirits and energy and stuff is that there's so many different, like, I guess, kinds. Mm-hmm. Like, there's the, like, residual energy spirits that, like, kind of are just stuck in their path and they'll repeat doing the same thing. And then, I don't know what you would call it, but, like, the ones where I guess are, like, actively haunting. Mm-hmm. Or even, like, poltergeists, which are from the energy you put out, and then, like, demons, which are not even from a human. They're just there to latch on and drain you of what they can.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where, you can really look into it and all you want, depending on which area you want to go. Right in there with the metaphysical side of everything.
There's just so much and so much variation.
And everybody kind of believes their own thing and,
But going forward, we're definitely going to be talking about more haunted places and haunted areas and buildings. And hopefully we get the chance here soon to go out and actually ghost hunt again and get back out there and experience some stuff if we can.
Maybe we'll bring a ghost on.
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
I'm definitely looking forward to it. And I have a coworker who has invited us many times to come and look at his property because he has some crazy stories of cryptids and hauntings.
Yeah.
So maybe we can do that sometime.
I definitely think it's a big thing. We all are into a little bit of everything and dabble here and there, but, the paranormal, supernatural, the unknown is really...
It's such a big...
Right there. It's right there, and everything you want can really fall under that. Everything comes from that.
Yeah. And I definitely, even with everything I've experienced with just my paranormal experiences and my sleep paralysis experiences, my love and adoration for the paranormal just keeps growing, and I just keep wanting to learn more and get more involved
it's like
into
once
it.
you dip your toe in it, you just want more and more.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
you
never enough.
Can't just eat one chip. You're like, I want more. I want to know what's out there. I want to know.
Just all those unanswered questions. And
Which I feel like that's how all of us are with certain aspects. Like, strangers will be like, why would you want to know? If something like your experience with sleep paralysis, like, why would you want to know what's causing this? I'd want to get away from it. Or
and then that's when you ask them the question, why wouldn't you want to know?
Right.
Like,
an understanding of the unknown.
Exactly.
It's what we want.
It's a pure longing that I'll probably always have.
Well, it's just, I don't want to stay in a box.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a whole world out there that I want to know of. Whether it's real, fake, whatever.
And that gets into the whole time going on all at once.
Oh, yeah. I think that's definitely what we'll have a lot of. Is a lot of these different encounters of different kinds.
We definitely got some good stuff that I'm definitely excited to talk about.
Mm-hmm. And I'm excited for the new experiences that we have. So new stuff we talk about. I'm excited to have to come back on here and do another special episode because something wild happened.
Yeah.
That's
especially
what I want.
Where I'm on campus at Eastern Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty known for
the
paranormal.
I had experiences at Eastern myself.
Which I live in the same dorm that Riley used to live in.
Yeah, so I'm excited for that. We'll have all kinds of ghostly reportings to do.
Yeah. It's always exciting.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Until next time,
Remember, you can find us on
Our own website,
Facebook,
Instagram,
YouTube,
Twitter.
and even Pinterest.
links are in the description.
As always,
Stay weary.
stay leery.
And stay eerie.